Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, Network Guru Tech Room. From today, I thought to start a video series letting you know how to authenticate Cisco iOS device and a Cisco Nexus device. Today, Cisco Nexus device means a device running Cisco Nexus OS. How to authenticate those devices using a AAA Radius server. So here I'm using the Radius server as Microsoft NPS, Microsoft Network Policy Server. So in my video series, I'm dividing my video series into three videos. Actually, in my first video, I'm going to letting you know how to install and configure a Microsoft NPS server for authenticating the devices. Uh, Really here I'm using and I'm creating these videos for authenticating Cisco iOS running each and Cisco Nexus OS running. Right. Then in my second video, I will let you know uh, how to configure the Cisco iOS running switch authenticate with the Radius server. And then in my third video, I will give you the idea how to configure the Cisco Nexus Switch to it with the Radius server. Right. So in my video series, how to authenticate Cisco devices using a AAA Radius server, these are the three videos I'm going to demonstrate to you. First one is installing the NPS server and configuring the NPS server, and then configuring a Cisco iOS running switch to authenticate with the Radius server. And then in the last video, I will let you know how to configure a Cisco Nexus switch to authenticate with the Radius server. So, right, let's start today video with the first section, configuring Cisco NPS server to authenticate the network devices. So first of all, I will introduce to you my basic setup. So this is my basic setup, and here I am using this kind of setup. I have a Cisco 290 switch. So this is the switch that the iOS OS is running, and my switch is connected to a ESSi host. And in the ESSi host, I have configured installed a Windows server, Windows 2019 server. And these are the IP addresses. Actually, my switch IP address is 192.168.8.2, and actually my server IP address is not remember right now. Uh, let's see what is the my server IP address. I'm logging to my server first. My server IP address is 192.168.8.186. Okay, so this is my server IP address. Right. Okay. So, since with these two devices are in the same segment, they can they have the network reachability, obviously. So let's go to know how to configure the NPS server. So this is my NPS server. So actually this is my AD server in my test setup. So here actually you can use it is your intention. You can use the AD server itself for configuring the NPS server. Also you can configure a separate server for the NPS server. The actually the thing you need is you need the network reachability to the NPS server from the switch, the network device, we are going to authenticate with the Radius server. So actually, if the switch and the Radius server are in separate network zones dividing by a firewall, there may be need to allow some policies. Likewise, you need to allow the radius traffic between those two segments. So in this setup, uh, we don't have a very complex setup. Likewise, using a firewall, something like that. So just directly connected VM host and the switch we are using in this setup. So first of all, we need to install the NPS server in the actually it is the network for NPS feature. We need to install the NPS feature in our server. For that, we can go to the server manager in our server and then to the tools. Sorry, then to the manage and then add roles and features. You can click next here and also here next and select the server which you are going to install the NPS role from the server pool. And then here you can see there is a field called network policy. There is a role called network policy and exercises. You need to use the tick on it and then click next and obviously next and then install. Here in this setup we are installing our network policy roles and features in our server, in our NPS server. Okay, now our network policy feature has been, roles and features has been installed in our server. Then we have to first, you don't need to restart or do something like that by after installing the network policy role. So after the installation, you can go to tools and you can see the tool network policy server and click on it. Okay, so as a brief, now we have installed the network policy role in our server, and then we have opened the network policy server. As the next step, we need to add our switch as a Radius client in the network policy server. For that, you need to go to Radius clients and servers, and then to Radius client. Here, there are some configuration I have done earlier. I'm deleting my existing client. Okay, so we are going to create my switch as a Radius client, and you can give any name. It's up to you. So here I'm using the print name as Cisco IOS W, and then I'm giving the IP address of my switch. So my switch IP address is 192.168.8.2, and then to verify, right? Then this is the very important thing. You need to configure a shared secret here. So when you configure the shared secret here, please remind this carefully. Please note this secret key in a safe place with you, because if you configure the secret key here and do the confirm OK, you cannot see again the secret key in a plain text. So keep in mind to store this secret key in a safe location, because we need to add this secret key in the switch configuration. Level. So here I am adding a secret key for my myself. So I'm going then click OK. Sorry, my secret key is not matched. Bad luck. Oh, what is this? Okay. Now my switch IP address is addressed as a Radius client. Okay. Now I am going to the next steps. So in the next step, I'm going to configure connection request policies and network policies. Here, the connection request policy that means creating a connection request policy that allows you to designate whether the connection requests are proceed. That means simply by checking the connection request policy, NPS policy is checking whether this connection can be proceed a little further. So after the connection request policy is matches, then the network policy is doing matching with the network policy that we have configured. So in the network policy, it is a set of conditions and constraints and settings that allows you to designate who is authorized to connect to the network. In the connection request policy, the NPS is designating whether the connection request can be proceed or not. After the connection request is proceeded by the connection request policy, and the network policy is uh, defining whether the define the conditions, construction, and settings, and then it is checking whether who can authorize to the devices. So briefly, network policies can be viewed as rules. Each rules has a set of conditions and settings. MPS compare the conditions of the rule to the properties of connection request. If a match occurs between the rule and the connection request, the settings defined in the rules are applied to the connection. So, right, then first of all, let's create the connection request policy. Here, I'm giving the name as connection request policy iOS, and then next we keep these things other things as default, and then next, and adding a special condition. So from this condition, and the connection is received to the NPS server, the NPS server is checking whether the condition is matched with the connection request. If the connection request is matched with this condition, then the connection is passed the NPS server. Here, simply we can add the IP address of the authenticating device with the IP address of the switch. Then, when the connection request is received by the IP address by the switch that have the IP address we have configured, then the connection request can be passed. After that, we can add a friendly name. That means client friendly name. As I think you can remember, at first we created a Radius client. While creating the Radius client, we added the friendly name. So in connection request policy, we can add that friendly names also as a condition. Apart from adding a total friendly name, we can use some regular expressions. That means all the friendly names that are ending with this letter can be authorized. Then we can give some regular expressions, all the friendly names that are starting with these three letters. Those can pass this connection request policy likewise. So here I am adding my client IP address for my easiness. I'm not going to add any friend name or something like that. I'm just adding my IP address of the switch. So yeah, switch IP address is 192.168.2. Then my condition is the client IP address. When the switch is coming to this NPS server with this IP address 192.168.8.2, the connection request is passing, and it is passed to the another level. That another level is second level is network policies. Right. Then click next. Keep these things as by default. Next, keep this part also by default like this. Next, and next, and finish. Right. Now I have configured the required connection request policy, and I am moving it to up. Right. Since the matching is doing from top to bottom, the hierarchy is top to bottom, I am moving my connection request policy to the top. Right. Now, my connection request policy is configured for the switch that I am going to authenticate via the Radius server, and then we can configure the network policies. Okay, here you can add some special conditions before satisfying this network policy. So let's see what are these conditions that we can add in the network policy section. There are multiple conditions that you can satisfy. You can add in the network in this network policy. So, as an example, you can add some user groups. That means you can limit the access to the relevant network device to the to the specific user group in the Active Directory, and then uh, you can add a client IP. Means you can add the IP address of the network device that you need to uh, authenticate using this network policy. The IP address of that device you can add here. That means, as example, we can add the IP address of my switch as a client for this network policy. So uh, since we am adding only that client IP address, so that only that switch can satisfy this network policy. So then you can add some client vendor. That means, as example, you can add the client vendor as Cisco. If we add the client vendor as Cisco, only the Cisco devices can be authenticated using this network policy. So here in my lab setup, I am using two conditions. Actually, I'm using two conditions. First one is I am adding the client IP address. This my switch IP address I am adding as one condition, and I am adding a specific user group as a AD user group for this network policy. So before adding the user group in the network policy, so we need to create some user groups in the Active Directory. So uh, let's go to that section before creating the network policy. So here in my setup, I'm using the Active Directory server itself as the network policy server. So as your intention, you can use a separate servers for the NPS server and the Active Directory server. So if you're using two separate servers, so obviously you need to have the network reachability between those NPS server and the Active Directory server. So since I am using the Active Directory server as the NPS server, I am creating my user groups in this server. So I'm going to my Active Directory using computers. Okay, yeah, I am adding two user. First one is create only users. Next, and then I'm adding another group. Create right users. Okay, then I'm going to create two users. One user is create only user, RO user. and the password. Password expire and you cannot change the password. And then next. Okay. Now I'm going to create two users. First one is read-only user. That I'm using username as RO user. And next, then the password. And give me a simple password here. And I don't want to change the password for the user and password to express in the next. Password is not much. Then next and finish. Right. After that, I'm creating another user. That user is read write admin. Right. Then the password. Cannot change the password and password expire. I'm taking these options. And next and finish. Right. I have created two user groups, read only user group and a read write user group, and two user, read only user and read write admin. Now I am adding my read only user to my read only user group. Okay. Then I'm adding my read write admin user to my read write user group. Okay, done. Now, as a brief, I've created two user groups, read one user group and a read write user group. And after that, I created two users. One user is read only user and then read write admin, that means read write user. I added my read only user to the read only user group, and I added my read write admin user to the read write user group. Okay, that part is done. Then I'm going to again to my network policy server, and as before, I'm going to create my network policy. Previous time I had given as a network policy read write iOS. I'm giving the same name as that and read. Okay. Keep these other things by default and click next. Here, I'm going to add my conditions. I'm at one considering condition as my user group to get. Here I am adding the user group. So this is the read write network policy. Then I'm adding my read write group for this network policy. So then only the user count that are in the read write user group can satisfy this, can utilize this network policy uh, in this network policy server. So I am yes, adding my read write user group as a condition, one condition, and then I'm adding my client IP address as the IP address of my switch. 192.168.2. Okay, right. Here I had two conditions. One condition is my read write username, and another condition is my switch IP address, the IP address of the switch that we are going to configure the triple authentication. Then click next and keep as access granted here. Then next, here there are multiple type of authentication methods you can use. So since some of them are encrypted methods, some of them are authenticating using certificates. So since I am using a Cisco switch, I am not going to use the method that authenticates me using certificate and something like that. So I'm using only the unencrypted authentication method since I'm using a network switch. Since I'm trying to authenticate a network switch from this multiple authentication method, I'm using the unencrypted authentication method. That means PEP method. So I'm clicking the unencrypted authentication method and I clicking next. Then here this warning, this alert, click no. Keep in this setup, in this lab, I'm using this section as by default. First, you can configure some. If you need, you can configure some idle time, subscription timeouts, likewise, and daytime time restrictions also you can use. So it's up to you. So here I am not using those constraints, those things, those options, and I'm keeping by default this section. I'm going to next. Here, you may delete this prayer protocol attribute and change the service type attribute value as so here you can check none and the service type as the value of the service type is login. Right. Then this is the special thing. So this is the configuration that we configure this network policy for full privilege, for giving the user the full privilege. That means in a switch, there are privilege levels up to 15. So the 15 is the full privilege and 1 is the least privilege. So here I'm configuring this network policy for giving the full privilege the use account. For that, I am clicking at and select Cisco, then click the Cisco AB pair and click add. Again, click add. And here you may give the value, the attribute value as shell colon preview dash LVL equal 15. Here I am giving the privilege level as 15 for the user accounts that are connecting using this network policy. So this is how we give the full privilege, read write privilege to the user that are utilizing, that are authenticating to the switch using this network policy. Here I'm clicking OK, then OK, and close. Right. I'm keeping other things by default, and then next and finish. So this is the configuration, and then finish. Right. Here, so in the here the network policies are working. They giving the priority from top to bottom. So since we need to give the priority to this uh, network, this created network policy, I am moving my newly created network policy to the top. Then right. Okay. And I am disabling this network policies. Right. Then I am going to create another network policy for the read-only users. I'm creating new network policy. We read only iOS. Right. Then click next. As usual, I'm adding conditions. My read-only user group I'm adding here. So add group, read-only user group. Okay. Then okay. And as previous network policy, I am adding my client IP address. 192.168.2. Right. Okay. Here, last network policy, I added the condition as read write users. They, because I'm using that network policy for read write privilege. Then I'm creating this network policy for read only privilege, not the write access. And for that, I am giving that access only for the read only user group. Then I'm clicking next. Access granted. I am unchecking other methods and giving my unencrypted authentication. No, keep this by default. Here I am deleting a frame protocol and then change the service type value as login. Okay. Then I am configuring this network policy as the read only network policy by configuring this option as previous network policy and giving the shell privilege level as 5. So previously I have given the shell privilege at 15, that means the full privilege. Then here I'm given the one of the least privilege, that means level 5, and at level 6, 4, something like that. So here I made it level 5. Then okay, okay, and next, and finish. Okay. Previously, I said the network policies are giving priority from the top to bottom. So I'm moving my newly created network policy to up. Right here, if a user when a user is trying to authenticate, and the network policy matching that user from this network policies from top to bottom. When the user is matching to one of these network policies, it is applying the conditions and configurations in that network policy to that user. So after matching one network policy, it is not coming down to another network policy. So actually it is behaving like ACLs as example, right? So this is the configuration that we are doing in network policy server before configuring the switch configuration, before doing the switch configuration. So as a brief, we are using Microsoft NPS as the AAA Radius server, and so we need two components: Windows Active Directory and the NPS server. As I said before, you can use two servers, two separate servers, one server for Active Directory and one server of the NPS server. Here I'm using only one server. I am running the NPS server itself in the Active Directory server. And then we installed the network policy role in my server, and I created a Radius client. So my client is the switch I am using. After that, I created two network policies. One network policy is for read-write users, other network policy is for read-only users. Uh, for adding the conditions in those network policies, I created two user groups. One user group in the Active Directory, one user group is for read-only users, another user group for read-write users. And after that, I created two users. One user is for read-only access, one user is for read-write access. And I added the read-only user to the read-only group and the read-write user to the read-write group. So that is a summary of the network policy server configuration. So in the next video, let's see how to configure the iOS switch, Cisco 2960 switch for authenticating via the AAA server, AAA NPS server, and let's see how it is working and whether we can do the configuration authentication successfully. So till that, keep practicing this, and I will upload that switch configuration video so soon.